My name is Kevin Kushel, here representing APA Wisconsin. As many of you are aware, this workshop is the result of a collaboration between APA Wisconsin and APA Illinois. We would like to begin by thanking you all for participating in this workshop. We will be discussing important but challenging and oftentimes hard topics facing uncomfortable truths. Your desire to participate in this workshop shows that you are willing to do this, to step outside of your comfort zone and help us address the inequalities that currently exist. As Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley stated, we are facing two pandemics, COVID-19 and racism. This has become so much more pronounced this year, but it has historically been a problem, and we'll be talking about that in this workshop. Your participation here indicates that you want to help address this problem. So thank you again for your willingness to do this. This workshop would not be possible without the support of APA Illinois, APA Wisconsin, and APA National. This project is actually the result of a grant from the APA Chapter President's Council, and their willingness to support this shows that we as an organization are willing to start having these incredibly important discussions and are looking to grow ourselves. This is great. We'd like to thank APA Illinois, APA Wisconsin, APA Chapter President's Council, and APA National for this support. This morning's agenda, we will have the presidents of APA Illinois and APA Wisconsin say a few words before my incredible co-chair Nina Idamudia from APA Illinois will continue with the program. So without further ado, I would like to welcome APA Illinois' President, Jake Seid.
Thanks so much, Kevin. And thanks so much to you, to Nina, and to all of your team for all the work that's gone into this week's events. Good morning, everyone. Welcome on behalf of the APA Illinois and Wisconsin chapters. We have an incredible 3 days of programming planned for you, and we are so happy that you're here to join us as we embark on some courageous conversations about race and planning. I wanted to take a moment to highlight some of the work that APA Illinois has done to incorporate issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion into our chapter's programming. We hope that these can be resources for all of us as we continue on this journey together. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've been providing virtual connections and a sense of community through our chapter's coffee talks and lockdown lowdowns. It has been a great way to connect with colleagues, and it has also given us a chance to create spaces specifically for planners of color. So look for more of those in the weeks and months ahead. In June, after the murder of George Floyd, we issued a call to action for urban planners in Illinois. Our letter encouraged our members to be a force for change, to learn from others and speak truth to power, and to remind us that planning professionals hold a unique position to be the transformative leaders that our communities desperately need. In July, we developed anti-racism and equity resources for planners on our website. This is a living document that provides information for planners to create more equitable communities. We are highlighting items in our toolbox each month in our chapter newsletter as well. Also this summer, we created a new speaker directory to encourage diversity in our events and how we communicate to our audiences. APA Illinois' Executive Committee is also reviewing our policies and procedures as well. We may not be able to control the world around us, but we can certainly take a look at ourselves and see how our systems can be more fair and equitable. Speaking of our executive committee, we have an incredibly diverse leadership team starting next year. We are welcoming our first Black president-elect, Nina Idamudia, AICP. And in fact, the majority of APA Illinois' leadership are women, and half of them are women of color. So truly something to celebrate. And while we're on the subject, I want to thank the members of the APA Illinois board, particularly the women and women of color, for being the engine behind many of these great initiatives this year. APA Illinois has embarked on this journey, as you can see, but there is still much to do. And before I pass the mic, I just wanted to recognize one special guest that we have with us today, APA President Kurt Christensen, FAICP, for attending our workshop here. Kurt is in the final month as APA President, and it has been quite a ride for him. We would like to sincerely thank him for his leadership, his vision, and his commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. Thank you, Kurt. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to APA Wisconsin Chapter President, Josh Clemens. Josh?
Thank you very much, Jake. Thank you all for being here this morning and over the next 3 days. My name is Josh Clemens. I'm the president of APA Wisconsin, right about in the middle of my term. I'm excited that together with APA Illinois and support from the Chapter President's Council and many other individuals, we could pull together this professional development opportunity that's truly unique in our collaboration, and hopefully the start of many great collaborations to come. Like many state chapters, Wisconsin has recognized that we've been behind and not dedicating sufficient attention to developing our membership and planning practice in Wisconsin on principles of equity and inclusion. Our board has historically not been representative of either our members or of the state as a whole. We recognize that we have a long ways to go to support these practices among our existing members, as well as to recruit additional people to our profession that represent the communities in our state and our country. As a loosely coordinated national effort, we created a diversity and equity task force in 2017, and in 2018 studied how to improve as an association. This training that we're embarking upon was hatched in the summer of 2019 as a collaboration between our states and the Chapter President's Council, and was originally conceived as an in-person training. Our chapters conducted a joint survey in January and February, pre-COVID lockdowns, which, among other insights, contributed to how this training is structured. Earlier this year, the Wisconsin APA board adopted an equity action plan for the chapter, which took us about a year to work through, and a direct, forceful statement regarding our collective role in advancing equity. We recognize that as an association, that equity and inclusion are core principles of our practice and not merely features. We must do better. Together, this training will better equip us on this journey. We know that we must continue to critically examine how our association functions and how we represent the diversity in our communities, and that we can and must do better. So thank you all for dedicating your time and joining us on this journey. Now I'll turn it over to Nina Edmudia, the president-elect of APA Illinois.
Hello, good morning. I just have to start by saying my heart is so full to finally be here in this moment, to have all of you joining us for this 3-day workshop. As mentioned, Kevin and I have been working very closely over the last almost a year to get this workshop off of the ground. And so I cannot stop smiling, like I'm literally just beaming, because there's been so much work and dedication behind the scenes to get us to this day. And it goes beyond just Kevin and I. As members of APA Illinois and Wisconsin, there are many members of the American Planning Association since its existence that haven't felt seen and haven't felt heard within our industry, within our profession. And I think that hopefully we can all acknowledge, if you did your pre-reading, that historically planning has been a tool to create communities, but also create and exacerbates a lot of the racism and inequities and economic devastation in a lot of communities. And so for a lot of planners like myself, as a Black woman in this industry, I've come into it with the hope of having a positive influence and to really help those vulnerable communities thrive and to have more opportunities. That's what I see as my purpose. And I hope that you're all joining us today because you have an inkling or you have a passion for really transforming not only communities, but also our profession. A lot of times we look to the outside and say, oh, we're putting out these plans and we're creating these great public spaces and we're adding bike lanes to streets. But a lot of my colleagues don't understand that as a Black woman in America, a lot of those public spaces are not safe for me or built with me in mind, right? And so that's why I think this curriculum with the Castillo partners, which we're so excited to have on board for this 3-day workshop, really highlight the historic injustices that have led us to this point, right? I think as Kevin mentioned earlier, these two pandemics, not only do we have COVID-19 running rampant around the globe and specifically hitting our Black and brown neighborhoods and communities extra hard, but institutional racism, the other pandemic, has always existed. But we're in an atmosphere of opportunity where both our professions And our organization is stepping up and saying, we know we play a part in this. Let's figure out how to move forward together. And so Kevin and I hope that the next 3 days are inspiring, are enlightening, are motivating for you to go back into your workspaces and cultivate change in a way that is going to change the lives of everyone that you touch. APA just put out a video yesterday talking about the responsibilities of the planner. And it has always been my personal philosophy that the planner is an advocate, right? We work to right the wrongs and have the power to do so. And I think the more of my colleagues that come on board and want to acknowledge and then work towards that, the better I can sleep at night. And so I'm just super excited to have you all here and to be going through this 3-day workshop. My involvement in APA started actually in California. So I actually know our current APA president pretty well. We actually sat, when I was a baby planner, we actually sat on the APA California board together. And I learned a lot during that experience. I learned a lot about the power of our organization and how we can change trends and change the hearts and minds of our colleagues that are working in these communities and working in the field. I never want, people, either the planners of color or our allies, to feel as though they don't have the power to change the way communities can operate and thrive. That is exactly why we're here. We have power, we have expertise, and we have all of the tools that we need in order to really enact positive change in our communities and also for our colleagues. As president-elect of APA Illinois, I am both excited, but then also nervous, being the first Black president-elect for our chapter. And the New York chapter also has their first Black woman president this year, which is historic for our organization in general, and showing that there is a shift in what our membership wants to see out of our organization. And having more diverse members within our ranks highlights that and brings those things up to the surface. These hot button topics, as we've seen in the last few months, about public health, about public safety, about the inequities that our profession tend to enact in communities. These are things that as our membership shifts and starts to look more like the communities that we actually work in, those ideas and philosophies can come up to the surface, and we can all learn together and walk together in a way to really positively impact the world around us. And so some thanks I would like to give and I would be remiss without saying, Nancy Frank and Marcella Bonnie Keaton, they were the pillars of making this event happen. Okay, they worked very hard for both the survey and to get the grant from the President's Council, and handed it off to Kevin and I and said, here you go, we've laid the foundation and make it work. And so I hope that although they're not with us today, they're with us in the world, but they're not with us literally here today. I don't want it to make it seem, you know what I mean. I just want to acknowledge them and just put a sincere thanks, because again, these issues are not something that are new. There have been plenty of members through plenty of chapters that have been talking about equity and diversity and inclusion. And Kevin and I and everyone in this room is riding on their coattails. And we hope to give the next generation of planners even more stability and hope and access to opportunities than we had. I'd also like to thank Katie Bennett and Karina Ward, who sat on our selection committee for our wonderful consultants. Would be remiss without shouting them out as well. And then I'd also just like to thank, in addition to, of course, the entire boards of APA Wisconsin and Illinois, just a special shout out to APA Illinois' membership and diversity committees for helping us in various ways, whether it had to do with funding or it had questions. They were there and stepped up when we needed them. And so, yeah, so that's pretty much everything that I have to say. I know that this was probably a very short and concise opening remarks for everyone. But I just am, again, just my heart is so full to have you all here today. And I really do hope that you enjoy the next 3 days of us being able to work together. This is not a conference. It's not a conference on purpose. We really wanted people to be able to do group work, to be able to come together, to be able to have these very hard conversations that you're usually not able to have in your everyday, work, right? And we wanted to be able to create an atmosphere where you can show up as your full self, be honest, be open, and make lifelong friends out of the colleagues that are attending this workshop as well. So that's it for me. And I believe I'm the end of the program. So unless anybody has any questions, I think we'll take a break until our first session starts.
Actually, I think what we'll do, because our introduction was so brief, we'll step right into it. And so I want to introduce our trainer, Lamika Castillo, and she's the co-founder and principal of Castillo Consulting Partners. And when we did the RFP and we were reviewing the different proposals, there were multiple great and phenomenal responses to that, but Lamika Castillo and Castillo Consulting Partners, they hit the ball out of the park. We are incredibly fortunate to have them here helping us do this work that is incredibly necessary for us right now in order for us to move as a society, move forward as a society. So it is an incredible pleasure to introduce Lamika Castillo and move forward with this program today.
Thanks, Kevin, and thank you, Nina, and everybody else for those wonderful opening remarks. In case you haven't noticed, Nina, Kevin, and I color coordinated on purpose so that we can be all in sync today, because we need to be on the same page as we get into these conversations. I'm just kidding, we didn't color coordinate, but when we got on the Zoom today, it was obvious that we were all on the same page and are thinking about wearing some power colors so we can, as Kevin says, kill the game for this session today. So as they mentioned, my name is Lamika Castillo. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am based in Los Angeles. I'm not going to go too much into my bio because I know you all had an opportunity to read it, and also I don't like to talk about myself. But I do like to talk about my baby. So I am a new-ish mom. I have I guess he's not that new anymore. He's 13 months old, almost 14 months. His name is Baby Justice. His name is Justice. We just call him Baby Justice. And I let you know that in advance because I think, one, it's important for you to know that the work that I do, this diversity, equity, inclusion work is so much about the children before I even had a child, right? How I am thinking about creating communities that thrive for all children and families and communities, as so many of the speakers have already stated. And then also because, of course, he's a baby and he just woke up. I'm based in Los Angeles. He woke up about 20 or so minutes ago, right as we were getting started, and he likes to join in the conversation. So if you hear a little one in the background, just know that there's an urban planning who is budding and is wanting to learn and contribute to our discussions as much as he possibly can. He has a whole lot to say about urban planning and race and racism and all the issues that we're going to talk about for a person who's lived in quarantine for the majority of his life. So with that, I would love to kind of get us going here and begin our conversation.